It's a smooth 98.1. Love music, love life on a feel good Friday morning, 29th day in the month of November 2024, the final Friday in the month. This time next week, we'll be talking about December and whatnot. But, anyways, let's focus on the now and the present as well. The Smooth Breakfast is what you're listening to. Ayokunmi is right here with you, ready to take you into Business Express. You know, it's a Friday, so we jump into the tech side of things. It is a Tech Friday edition. Welcome along to the show with us this morning. You can join us on the conversation this morning to talk about or to comment about what we'll be discussing. And the WhatsApp number is 0809 444 0981. 0809 444 0981. Today, we're going to be looking at Australia. They've banned under-16s from social media. Now, this particular piece of legislation has been in the making for a little bit, and it has come to pass finally. Joining me this morning to talk about this is Bolu Abiodun. He is a senior reporter at Techpoint Africa. Very good morning to you, Bolu. Great to have you on the show.
Good morning. Thank you so much for having me.
Absolute pleasure to have you in to talk about this new development. Before we jump into it, also for you out there, you can join us on YouTube. We're streaming at Smooth 981 FM Lagos. Smooth 981 FM Lagos. You can also drop your comments there, and I'll take them alongside the comments that come in on WhatsApp as well. So just to give a brief backstory into this particular development, like I said, the Australian Senate has passed this law that has banned social media by basically anyone under 16. It was passed on Thursday with 39 votes to 19 opposing votes, making the country the first, yes, the first in the world to have such a legislation. So under this law, social media platforms like your Facebooks or TikToks, Reddits, X, and so on will be fined if they fail to prevent children younger than 16 from holding accounts on their website. So that is quite a biggie there. Now, Bulu, let me bring you in on this one because, like I said, this is the first of its kind anywhere. And I'm just wondering, should the government be dictating how teenagers interact with technology? What about the parents? I mean, don't they or shouldn't they get the final say?
Um, I think that's a very interesting question. The thing is, yes, government should have the final say. If we are being honest, government sort of has the final say on most things, right?
Mm,
Uh, Government tells you when your child is at what age your child is an adult. They tell them how many years they use in school. That's not a decision you make you make as a parent, right? And it is the
right.
responsibility of the government to ensure the safety of citizens, right? Um, and yes, I think the government should have a say in doing that because we've seen a lot of cases of, some of the terrible, I mean, social media for kids, to be honest, there have been advantages and there have been disadvantages. But the truth is, it's not a matter of numbers. Like, are there more advantages or more disadvantages? It's a matter of, okay, what is the gravity of the advantages and disadvantages? And the truth
Mm,
is, the disadvantages are a lot heavier, right? A few months ago this year, we saw, the US Senate, they invited the TikTok CEO, and, they were talking to him about, uh, you know, cases where um, young kids, right, committed
right.
suicide because of things they saw on social media. Same thing with the Facebook CEO, right, where he had to turn around and apologize to people, parents that were in that Senate meeting with him. So yes, disadvantages, the gravity of what social media, the level at which it can harm children,
Mm,
teenagers, is far worse than what it can provide for them, if we are being honest, right?
okay.
So I
Okay.
think, yeah, the government they need to actually do their best to ensure the safety of these kids.
Okay, interesting thoughts there. But I mean, I'm just wondering, is this law even practical? Because there have been questions around how it will be enforced. And one of the things that jumped to my mind was, I mean, a teenager can easily lie about their age. There's a possibility of that happening. So how practical is this law down the road? Are you there, Bolu? You're muted, Bolu.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry. So it's definitely a challenge, right? Especially when it comes with age verification and things like that. And it's interesting how advanced social media platforms have gotten, and they've not, found a way around verifying some of these things, right?
Mm,
So enforcement is going to be tricky for the government. So um, a practical solution might be involving stronger verification methods like ID checks, right? Um, what this will cause is that the seamlessness of opening a social media account now reduces, because now there are these different bottlenecks to jumping on board that social media platform, right? Which is, I mean, in the first place, how they get so many users. They try to make the usability as simple, as seamless as possible. But yeah, I
right.
think ID checks are one thing they could add. And I mean, these guys, they usually, when the government is hot on them enough, they usually find a way to implement some of these things. Recently, TikTok implemented there's this thing they do now where you can track how much time you're spending on the application, because it turns out that people spend an unhealthy amount of time, especially
Sure.
kids, right? They
Oh,
spend an
yes.
unhealthy amount of time on this platform. And
Right.
they started doing something where parents could just take the phone, set the amount of time they can spend on TikTok to like an hour. So after 1 hour, the app just stops working. Right. I mean, they've innovated things like this. I think if the government is hard on them enough, they'll figure it out. They are very smart guys working working in
Hmm.
those big tech companies,
Hmm.
trust me.
Well, they'll have to find some way to, sort the problem out because according
Mm.
to according to part of the report on this particular law that's been put out there, it said that these social media companies will be prohibited from requiring users to provide government-issued identification, including digital IDs to verify their age. So I don't know how they're going to, find a way to enforce the law, but asking for ID is off the table according to this,
Wow.
which
That
looks
that
is going to make things very, very interesting. Now, that being said,
mm,
do you think
mm.
other countries, and we're going to use Nigeria as a case in point, do you think other countries should follow the lead of Australia on this one?
Okay, so this is now where my opinions, might now sound a bit like like theories, right?
Mm,
But the truth is, I think a lot of other countries should, and I think Nigeria should probably follow suit, right? But then it needs to be done in a way where the government truly understands how exactly these teenagers are using the platforms, what they
okay.
gain from the platforms, and um, how they can now enforce things like this. So let's be honest. We have very young people that are making a lot of money from these platforms. They are using
Mm,
the platforms to uh, make money. There's economic development coming. Their families are doing better because of it. Which becomes, I won't say it's fair to take away something like that from someone like that. But one thing they can now do is, so let's now break it down, right? Let's break down. Okay, for a creator, this is how you use this platform, right? How how can we now segregate? I mean, I don't want it to now be like a discriminatory kind of things, but how can we now
yes.
segregate, these different types of young users, right? Whereby we do not say because we want someone to make money off the app, and then there's some other person. that is being influenced wrongly, that is now maybe turning to a life of crime, or probably starts using drugs, or probably even kills themselves because we want one other person to enjoy using the platform. Because we need to face the truth that these platforms have very serious advantages. Money is good, but you can't compare money to someone's life, right?
Mm,
So that is where
right.
they need to now understand the usage of, because creating regulations is you first need to understand, right? Which is why where I think a lot of countries, even the US, are getting it wrong. Because before you can regulate something, before you can implement laws on something, you first need to understand exactly how that thing is being used. Then you now find a favorable way to regulate that thing for both the users, where the users are not hurt, and where the business itself, because you need businesses to also thrive, right? Where the businesses themselves are not. So I think, yeah, we can do it in Nigeria, but we need to find that balance.
Mm. We need to find that balance. And of course, Australia being the first country to actually do this, they're going to be,
Mm,
should I say, monitored very closely to see how it works out for them. And then maybe use that as, some sort of, should I say, learning curve. This is like a pilot for this
mm,
particular law for other countries. Other countries, I'm pretty sure, are probably considering putting this into practice. But, they just want to wait and see, okay, how does Australia do it? I mentioned earlier on that under this new law, all the social media platforms will be fined if they fail to prevent children who are under 16 from holding accounts on their sites. And that fine is about $33 million. In one word, Bully, because we're out of time. Is that
okay.
fair or not?
Yes, it's fair. It creates accountability. If you are profiting from young people using your platform, then you should also bear the responsibility of safeguarding
All right. Straight to the point, Bolu says it is fair. Yes,
them.
hold them by the trousers. But anyways, I'm definitely going to be keeping my eyes on this one. Very interesting developments that we are seeing out there in Australia. Will this spill over to other parts of the world? It remains to be seen. Taya on WhatsApp says it's a welcome development in faraway Australia. Some Nigerians will just switch to masking apps. This money drive is also causing some people to circulate false information. True, one of the
Yeah.
drawbacks
Yeah.
being on social media. Thank you for that message, Tayo. And of course, thank you so much for joining me this morning, Bolu. I've been talking with Bolu Abiodun. He is a senior reporter at Techpoint Africa. It's been a pleasure. Have a good Friday.
Thank you so much.
Alrighty. Thank you for being a part of Business Express this morning. Keep it tuned to the Smooth Breakfast right here on Smooth 98.1. The Smooth Breakfast will continue. So feel a good Friday with this great music coming your way to set the mood for your day and the weekend in prospect. And of course, 7:30, we'll get into the papers on Freshly Pressed. 15 minutes flies by really quickly.